Hello and welcome to the FanDuel Punch-Out. I am Big Italy 42 here talking about tonight's 11-game slate. One of the better Thursday slates we've seen in quite a while. Everything starts off here with Chris Sale, $11,800. No surprise that he's your most expensive option. But an 8-run total, minus 185 favorite. It's a Boston team that strikes out very little, actually third lowest strikeout rates of any team in the majors over the past 30 days. But they also really struggle with left-handed pitching, so Chris Sale certainly consideration for your top arm. He is your best arm. It's just whether or not you want to pay his hefty price tag in a fairly tough matchup against the Red Sox tonight. I'll certainly be using him some. I'm not sure he's necessarily a lock for my cash games, but I really do like a couple guys behind him as well. Jake Arrieta, $10,400 against a Milwaukee team and a 7-run total in Miller Park. So he and Jimmy Nelson, obviously Vegas expecting both of them to do fairly well today. Arrieta has elite numbers on the season. It's a guy who just never gets the respect he deserves. 26.9% strikeout rate, ground ball rate of over 51%, xFIP of 2.68. Very good pitcher. I'm a big fan of his tonight, and despite the tough ballpark, because he does do a great job keeping the ball on the ground. He keeps the ball in the ballpark too. Carlos Martinez, the other one. Big-time favorite, minus 220 right now against a Colorado team that not only struggles on the road, but now no longer has Troy Tulowitzki. They replaced him with Jose Reyes, who's a fine hitter in his own right, but not a power hitter. Carlos Martinez is a guy who keeps the ball on the ground at an elite level, 55.5%, 24.7% strikeout rate. The walk rate of 9.8% is what you worry about. Only one in his last start, but before that, he had 5 of his previous 6 starts with at least 2. If he can keep his walks under control and pitch deep into this game, he has great upside here. He did pitch 8 innings against Atlanta. That start I mentioned with the 4 walks against the Mets only went 4 innings. So that's the only reason he's struggled to pitch deep sometimes. But for the most part, this guy's pitching 6, 7 innings, getting you 5, 6, 7 strikeouts. Huge favorite, like I said. So got to like him tonight in your cash games. A couple other options for you. Matt Shoemaker at $7,400 finally had a big performance we've been waiting for pretty much all season long. 20 FanDuel points last time out against Minnesota. 6 innings, 10 Ks, got the win. Did have 3 walks, but only allowed 2 hits. That's the Matt Shoemaker we remember from last year. Big-time upside. It's a Houston team with a lot of power, so that makes him a risky play because he does give up a lot of home runs this year, 1.58 per 9. But he has big-time strikeout upside because this team likes to strike out a lot. So I'm looking at him. I'm also looking at Jimmy Nelson in tournaments at $7,400 against the Cubs. We know the Cubs' tendency to swing and miss. They've been one of the worst offenses over the past month, actually. And Nelson has had his way with some pretty good offenses recently. At Arizona, went 7 innings, got 5 Ks in the win. First Pittsburgh had a solid performance, got the win in 7 innings at Los Angeles, the Dodgers, the best team in all of baseball against right-handed pitching. So $7,400, he's a very interesting option as well. Outside of that, I'm not touching any of these cheap guys. I don't like any of them, really. You can look Carlos Carrasco, but Oakland doesn't strike out a lot. He hasn't been particularly good recently, and I just don't have a whole lot of faith in him tonight. She'll get some run support behind him with Chris Bassett on the other side, but at the same time, if he doesn't have that strikeout upside that he possesses, he's not a guy that I have a ton of faith in. So, I mean, he's a tournament option at $9,200, but seems a little pricey, so probably a guy I'll just use sparingly. Scott Kazmir, another interesting option, especially if Mike Trout sits again. He's $9,400. This is an Angels team that has struggled as a unit in general this season, outside of Pujols and Trout. Now, if Trout's out of the lineup, it's pretty much Pujols and everyone else. Not a lot of consistency in this lineup, so Scott Kazmir, a very interesting option at $9,400 as well. Catcher options. Russell Martin at home against the lefty and Danny Duffy. Certainly looking that way. Duffy has had some big-time struggles with right-handed bats this season. Obviously, going into the Rogers Center, facing a team that kills lefties, not a place where you want to be. Duffy, $332, will be allowed to righties. A couple other guys. Victor Martinez at $3,200 gets Miguel Gonzalez. Martinez hasn't been great recently, but still a very good hitter. Gonzalez struggles with long balls. He's a slightly above-average pitcher, but if there's anybody from that team I really like, it's Martinez. Other options, Brian McCann gets Giovanni Gallardo, who had that nice, impressive stretch there for a little while, but then struggles over his past few starts, looking his way a little bit. Got a little bit unlucky last night with a couple hard hit balls. I like him tonight a decent amount as well. If you're going to go cheaper and look for some value options here, There's not a whole lot to like down cheap. Matt Wieters is still just $2,500 if he's in the lineup, so you're certainly looking his way as well. Outside of that, Dioner Navarro, if he's in the lineup, gotta love him. He's min salary. If he's in there, min salary tonight in that lineup, Russell Martin has been playing a lot recently. Maybe he gets in, maybe he DHs, something of that nature. Maybe Martin DHs and he catches. I'll definitely be playing him a lot, probably in my cash games as well at that min salary price. First base options, Anthony Rizzo is only $3,000. He has struggled, only one multi-hit game in his last 10, but homered yesterday, and so it was a 2-run shot. He hasn't been great, but Jimmy Nelson is an above-average pitcher, but an inconsistent pitcher, allowing a 371 WOBA to lefties this season. So Anthony Rizzo, $3,000, probably a guy I'm just going to go ahead and slot into my cash games. It just makes a lot of sense at that price. Other guys, you got Freddie Freeman against Aaron Harang, fresh off the DL. He's looked pretty good since his return. Only 2 hits so far. One was a home run, though. $3,500, he's a good tournament option. Mark Teixeira, if he's back from his injury, $3,700 you like tonight. Jose Abreu finally priced like an elite hitter, $3,900. I still like him. Not just the plug and play in cash games, though, that he was. Edwin Encarnacion, if he's back tonight, was a late scratch last night, $4,500. You got to like him. And then Chris Davis, Joey Votto, take your picks there. I think Davis probably the better play at $4,100 against Alfredo Simon, who really struggles with left-handed batters. Votto, a nice tournament option, though. He's been really locked in, and A.J. Burnett has not been great over his last couple starts either. Second base options, Jason Kipnis, Brian Dozier, the 2 guys I'm looking at the most. Kipnis, $3,700 against Chris Bassett. Chris Bassett he hasn't been terrible against left-handed batters. Actually, a 263 WOBA allowed so far. No home runs, but only 19 2/3 innings. Kipnis, 3 straight 3-hit games. So that's the kind of consistency you want in cash games. Brian Dozier against J.A. Happ. He's a guy you love targeting against lefties. He gets a lefty now, and an average lefty. Happ's not a terrible lefty. 0.85 home runs per 9. All his other numbers pretty much average, though. I love Brian Dozier in that spot. A little bit too cheap. Neil Walker, I like a lot of these Pittsburgh bats. David Holmberg, the lefty. Neil Walker, not as good from the right side of the plate as he is from the left side, but I still like him. Should have a nice lineup spot against Holmberg, who's really bad at the AAA level this season. Ben Zobrist, another guy. If you want to target him now with the Royals against Marco Estrada, he's been a very consistent performer at second base. If Devin Travis is back in the lineup today, $3,000. You got to like him. And then your cheap play, once again, give me Jimmy Paredes at $2,600. Was a disappointment last night, just went 1 for 4, but he's also facing Alfredo Simon, who struggles against lefties. So cheap way to get yourself some exposure to a pitcher that just really has not been very good. Third base, Josh Donaldson is $4,600, and you want Josh Donaldson against the lefty Denny Duffy at home. He's been a pretty big disappointment over the last 2 games, the guy that I've played heavily in my cash games each time. I'm going back to him again tonight. Josh Donaldson is a very good hitter. I'm not going to let 2 subpar games shy me away from him in a great matchup at home. Below him, Manny Machado, righty-righty matchup. Mentioned Simon struggles with lefties. Obviously, Machado's a righty, but Manny Machado great against righties, so I love him tonight. Other options, Trevor Plouffe against the lefty. You got to like him, but I prefer his teammate, who is still way, way, way too cheap. Miguel Sano, $2,700. He is in a phenomenal spot. Danny Valencia, if you need a cash game play, $2,800. We know he's very good against lefties as well. And then a couple other guys to consider. Mike Moustakas, just been very consistent. Not great over his last couple games, but one of the best cheap performers at third base all season long, so you got to like him. And then Tyler Saladino, if he's batting second tonight, $2,500. The guy just continues to produce at the plate. Stole a base last night. Far, far too cheap for what he's been doing recently, so I like him quite a bit. Shortstop, Troy Tulowitzki is $3,500, coming off a monster performance in his first game for the Blue Jays. 3 for 5, 2 doubles, a home run, 3 RBIs, scored 3 times, 13.5 FanDuel points. Can't imagine a scenario where he's not in my cash game lineup tonight. Go ahead and just lock him in. He's in a great spot again against the lefty. Not quite Coors Field, but it's the AL version of Coors Field in the Rogers Center. Gotta love that. Jung Ho Kang, another guy. If for some reason you're not playing Troy Tulowitzki, if you wanted some swerve in tournaments, this guy's got homers in his last 2 games. Multi-hits in 8 of his last 10. And back to shortstop eligibility. Was third base there for a while. So take advantage of that. Who knows how long that's going to last at FanDuel right now. So you got to like him. I'm not going any cheaper than these guys. You can look at Carlos Correa against Matt Shoemaker. That's really it. You got Jose Reyes against Carlos Martinez. There's just too good of a spot for these other guys for me to even look at anyone else. Outfield, Mike Trout, $1,200 more than anyone else, dealing with a wrist injury. Maybe he's back tonight, maybe he's not. Not sure how much exposure I'll have, even if he is back. The guys I'm really looking at, you got Nelson Cruz against fly ball pitcher and Phil Hughes. Cruz has been cruising recently. I mean, you look at his last 9 games, he's got 5 homers. He's got 4 multi-hit games, 2 of those with 3 hits. Guy's locked in. Like targeting him against guys that can't keep the ball on the ground. Joey Bautista, even cheaper than he was last night, $4,200. Not tough to fit in your lineup tonight, so you got to like him as well. Adam Eaton and Melky Cabrera, $3,800. I mean, I don't know what else to say about these guys. They are just incredible plays right now. Both these guys absolutely locked in. Play one, play both. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. It's not like one has been producing while the other's been struggling. They've both been putting up big games seemingly every single night. So, gotta love these two guys here. Get them in wherever you can. Randall Grichuk, a nice tournament option at $3,800. Same goes for JD Martinez at that same price. Other guys to consider, Michael Brantley at $3,700 against Chris Bassett. If you want a tournament option, Carlos Gonzalez gets a tough matchup against Carlos Martinez, but, I mean, this guy has been ridiculous. 3 double-dong games in his last 6 outings. He has 8 home runs in his last 7 games. That guy is locked in at the plate, so definitely consider him in your tournaments. As you're digging a little bit deeper down here, Preston Tucker at $3,200. I love in tournaments. I think he's in a great spot. Dexter Fowler, switch hitter, mentioned Nelson struggles against lefties. Fowler's putting up some great performances recently. I mean, he has been an incredible cash game play. 9 of his last 10 games with at least 3.25, and he's only $3K. Gotta like that price for him tonight. Other options down cheaper, Chris Colabello, if he's in lineup at $2,800. Cheap way to get yourself some Blue Jays exposure. And as you dig even further deep, there are not a lot of guys. You chase in power, Colby Rasmus against a righty and Matt Shoemaker. If you're not a Shoemaker fan tonight, you're going to be considering that as well. Other options for cheap, Mark Trumbo, better against lefties than righties, but I mentioned fly ball pitcher and Phil Hughes. I like to target him with guys who can crush the ball. And as far as really cheap guys, there's not a whole lot to like here. You've got a guy like Marlon Byrd, who struggled over the past week, but over the past month has been pretty good. You can consider him. Obviously, Garcia, $2,300. He's been an okay play down there for near minimum salary, so I don't mind looking that way just a little bit. As far as bare minimum salary guys go, no one really jumps off the page to me as just a great guy to target right away. Travis Snyder, if he's in the lineup, he was not in the lineup last night. If he's in, that's a cheap lefty against Alfredo Simon for min salary, so you don't mind that one. Not a guy that you're going to rush out to slot in your lineup, though. And that's going to wrap things up. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out all of our great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.